Match of the year for the men now. Last year, Fletcher Ospreay from Full Gear was your choice, and I remember I took me a long time. I went with Swerve Danielson last year, which I absolutely loved. The story of that match, within the match even, was amazing.
That was a goodie.
This year we got a long list of nominees.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, this is quite the list. Okay. We have Omega versus Gabe Kidd from Wrestle Dynasty, which I forgot about. I think a little overrated, but still great.
Yep.
Ospreay Fletcher cage match from Revolution. Fantastic. Probably my bronze medalist, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Omega Takeshita from Revolution, which I think gets forgotten with that triad from Revolution.
Yeah.
Omega Speedball Ricochet from Dynasty, also forgotten, but is great. My favorite main roster match of the year is probably Rollins Punk Reigns, the Mania Night
Very
1
good
event.
match, yeah.
Really good. And a great ending in spite of how the vision panned out.
Yeah.
The turn was awesome.
It was.
From Rollins and Heyman. Okada Speedball from Dumb Nothing. Crazy finish. Ospreay Hangman. I'll talk about it. Takeshita Bandito from Supercard of Honor. Best ROH match of the year. Fantastic. Yep. We watched that one again.
Amazing.
Crazy stuff. Hangman versus Mox from All In. WWE's probably their equivalent to WrestleMania 40. Like the Bloodline Saga ending and my preferred one. MJ Mark Briscoe, the tables and tax match from All Out was awesome. Hangman versus Fletcher from All Out. And then we got the men's Blood and Guts match from Blood Guts. Fletcher Briscoe, no DQ from Full Gear. And finally, Fletcher Moxley from World's End.
Yes.
So quite the list here. And that's not even including some of the other ones that could have been there.
True.
Then I threw in an honorable mention of Styles and Cena. Not like the greatest wrestling match per se, but
sports entertainment.
Just the good kind of sports entertainment. Just really enjoyable.
There is such a thing.
I don't know. Like you can't really fault it. It not maybe the best wrestling wise, but it was just a feel good match.
Yep.
And I'll shout out the Rumble match again. One of my favorites I've seen since I started watching wrestling. I think there were so many threads going in and coming out, which is the mark of a good Rumble. I think. And it was so star-studded. I remember like being genuinely excited, like when Rollins and Punk and Reigns all interacted. I was like getting hyped, and like Cena got thrown in there. You had like Penta in there. You had Breaker. Like the Breaker like destroyed ISO Speed, which I was like so annoyed that he got in that match, but then he got like just destroyed. Yes. It was hilarious.
It was a good use of him for sure.
It was. I just remember being like genuinely excited watching it. Until the result. The result just sucked.
It did.
So I enjoyed it until Cena's feet hit the floor. I would first like to talk about my runner-up. I think Hangman Mox was fantastic and everything I love about AEW. The story was there, the action was there, the over-the-top violence was there. The drama was ramped to the max in the right kind of way. The way all that interference from Death Riders and the various babyfaces has been set up was genius. And I thought the history between Hangman and Mox, as well as the dynamic being built there, was great. A lot of great violence in this one. Barbed wire, broken glass, bed and nails, tables, all the fun stuff. The finish was great with Swerve helping when it mattered most, which I predicted, but it was the predictable payoff you want, right?
Yeah, it was.
And then Mox looked absolutely panicking, choked by Hangman. I thought that was great. That was fantastic and a great culmination of Hangman's redemption arc. However, that doesn't happen without my favorite match of the year, which is Hangman and Ospreay from Double or Nothing. Part of the reason I picked this is because ultimately I'll pretty much always prefer an amazing standard match over an amazing hardcore match. Texas Death was great, but this was greater. I thought the story told was simpler, but also just as effective and incredibly well done and interesting as for a face versus face storyline, which we talked about already. We did. Right? It was Ospreay's ascension to the top versus Hangman's redemption. Both of them had the same goal in mind, just it could only be one, right? The action was fantastic. Started slow and the pace built perfect in the way for a big fight feel, which I thought was amplified by pre-entrance vignettes for both of them, and unique trons for Hangman. We saw Ospreay get more heated and arguably desperate in contrast to Hangman staying cool. And commentary noted how like Ospreay's playing with fans early on, but Hangman's focused and he's dialed in.
They did, yeah.
Which I think was worth noting. And then Ospreay, as he's struggling to put Hangman away in the later going, because this one goes almost 40 minutes, you can see him getting more annoyed and he's like almost losing his cool, right? Well, as Hangman's like he's fine. And which is the opposite of what you would expect going in, because Hangman has been kind of like set up as like a hothead a bit, right? Which I thought was one of my favorite things about this. And my favorite part of this was I genuinely didn't know who was going to win. Like, this was the match more than anything else this year where I was on the edge of my seat because I was leaning towards Hangman. I think deep down that's what I wanted more, and I thought it was also like a little more logical with the redemption story, right? And I think in hindsight it was absolutely the right choice. But I was on the edge of my seat because this one was anybody's game. That's so rare these days because like a lot of the time it's like predictable. Like even with like the world said main event. Once MJF came back and Bandito won the ring, it's like, okay,
Makes
I
sense.
see where it's going.
Yeah.
Right. But this one was so interesting because like I was biting on every near fall because it was so unknown who would win. And I thought Hangman's All In Triumph was great and it was cathartic or whatever. But I thought this win was sweeter because it wasn't guaranteed. Like I knew that if he won this and he was gonna face Mox, I knew he would win that, right? But I wasn't sure if he beat Ospreay.
Mhm.
So I thought this win felt that much better because it wasn't guaranteed to me. One of my favorite matches I think I've ever seen, and it was just a great watching experience. Like I just remember being so captivated because
It was
so
amazing.
in doubt, and I think that's like I love that feeling, and it's so rare to have it like that up in arms. I think
Yeah.
so. I loved it. It was easily my favorite match of the year, and I think it was one of the rare times I went 5 stars. I think because I loved it that much.
You did, actually.
Yeah.
So the way I have to do this one too is I go through all my pay-per-views and basically look at all my star ratings, right? So I think I had a handful of 4 3/4. So then I went with like, what's the one that I remember the most, if without having to like go back and watch or read notes. So that's how I
the
made.
best strategy for you.
And I wanted to shout out to Keshta Bandito, which we did just watch again because it was on an ROH show. So I feel like there's a higher chance not many people watched it, but it's amazing. The last like 10 minutes of that match are crazy.
Pretty crazy.
So the whole match is on YouTube. So if you haven't seen it, you should probably do that. But again, using my process, going back through everything, for me, I did select Hangman and Moxley from All In. And I went back. I like to go back and just copy and paste my notes in. So at the time, I said this match was completely insane and I loved it. The character of Hangman and my dislike for the Death Riders had me really invested in this. The drama in this was huge, and by the end, I was so thrilled to actually have Hangman win. These two absolutely killed each other as expected, and somehow Hangman continues to have killer matches like this, though we wonder every time what he could do next. Like, we're always like, how can he possibly top what he did, right? Felt like a battle of good and evil, with the crowd legitimately and fully supporting the babyface challenger. This was professional wrestling executed at an elite level in all aspects. Awesome match filled with drama and very satisfying finish. Result can usher in a new era of AEW, and I, for one, am excited about it because I wanted Death Riders gone, right? So, match of the year contender, I said at the time, and I did select it this year.
I think it's the valid pick as well.
Yeah, I think you can't really go wrong with either of those.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.